Hi, welcome back to another video by Jim the Car Guy. This is the 2003 Toyota Highlander. We just did the rear brakes in the back over here. We changed the brakes in the brakes, the caliper, and the rotors. And now we're going to move up to the front. And the front, we're just going to be changing the brake pads. And we're going to change the rotor also because it's not able to be machined. It's too badly rusted. So let me just show you what I'm going to need to do. And we're going to wrap this job up and get it out the door. Alright, don't forget, subscribe to my channel, and if you like what I'm doing, give me the thumbs up. Okay, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be changing the brake pads, which are down inside here, and we're going to be changing the rotor right here. First thing you're going to do is you're going to take a small pry bar or a screwdriver, whatever you have. We're going to put it between the rotor. You can see it right inside there. We're going to put it between the rotor and the brake. You're going to put it between the caliper and the brake pad. You just keep constant pressure on it, and what that does is it recesses the piston. It recesses the piston all the way back into the bore, so it makes it a little bit easier later on. You can see where the piston is pushed all the way back in. You can see where the piston is pushed all the way back into the bore. So later on it's going to be a little bit easier to put this back together because the caliper piston is all the way back in. We don't have to put a tool in there to pry it back. So, all right, let me grab some tools. We're going to be taking off this bolt right here. This is probably a 12 millimeter. We're going to actually remove that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come down underneath the bottom right over here. We're going to remove this bolt here. Could be a 15 millimeter. And then we're going to come up here and we're going to remove that 15 millimeter bolt up on the top right there. All right, so let's grab some tools and let's get started. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out that bolt in the back that we talked about. It's probably like a 12 or a 13 millimeter. We're going to remove these. It's actually 12 millimeter. So we'll lose these bolts because we are going to need to reuse these again. Okay, one thing you never want to do is you never want to leave the caliper hanging by itself. So what you want to do is take a hanger, put it through here, and just relocate it up and out of your way so you can work. Next thing you want to do is you want to check these slide pins and make sure they slide correctly. These slide pretty well. The back is where we ran into a problem where these didn't slide, and therefore we had to change the caliper as well as the mounting bracket. So these slide pretty well, so we're going to be using these over again. And we're going to take out those bolts in the back that hold the mounting bracket to the car itself, or truck in this case. They're 17 millimeters. Remove those bolts. And don't lose these because we're going to need to reuse these again also. We're just going to relocate this off to the side for now. This is the brake pad itself, and you can see where it's got stress cracks right through here, and you can see how thin the pad is. Now you know rust was an issue on here because you can see how thick this one is here and how thin this one is here. So we're going to change the hardware kit on this at the same time. The hardware kit is what holds the brake pad into the mounting knuckle. So we're going to replace these also. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this rotor off the car. As you can see, it is extremely rusty. We are going to be replacing it, so it really doesn't matter if you want to bang it in the back or not. I usually put a pry bar in here like this and hit the face of the rotor right here a couple of times and it pops right off. Usually, but not in this case. Another way you could take it off is you just take a bolt, and there's a tiny little threaded hole right here. You screw this bolt into that little hole, and then you tighten it up, and it'll yeah, you screw that in to the you screw it into the rotor, and it'll actually pop this rotor right off the car without having to beat the heck out of it. So I'll show you how that works. Just screw it in, and you'll know when it pops. You'll hear it. Do the same thing on the other side here. This rotor was so rusted it actually split the rotor. I'll show you that in a minute once I pop it off. Okay, that hole was kind of stripped out, so we're just going to from rusting. So we're just going to hit it a couple times from the back. We're going to change it anyway, and it'll knock it off. This rotor was extremely rusty. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to clean the face up right here, because we don't want to have an issue with the next rotor staying on there the way this one was. So we're going to clean it up. Different ways you can do it. You can use a disc like this to clean it up in here. You can use a scraper. You could use whatever you want, as long as you clean it up really well. Now that we got it all cleaned up, we're just going to mount our new rotor. I usually, to make it a little bit easier so it's not moving all over the place when you're working, just screw another, one of the lug nuts onto it, and you'll hold the rotor like this so that it doesn't really move. Alright, now we're going to mount our, we're going to put our brakes on there. Remember I told you about the hardware kit? We're going to change the hardware kit that holds the brake pads in place. And the way you take these off is just grab them and just pull them. They come right off. Same thing here. Comes right off. Now I just want to point out that if there's a significant amount of rust inside here, you can clean it up with a file. If you have access to a sandblaster, you can sandblast it. Most people don't. You can just clean it with sandpaper or a file just like this here. But in this case, they're fairly clean. And the new hardware kit just pushes right on. Like that. All right. once you got them all in there. Okay, before we put this back on now, we're going to put a little bit of lubricant wherever the brake pad is going to touch. We're going to lubricate it, just like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to take out these sliders and we're going to lubricate them so that they slide nice and easy. They just pull right straight out, like that. Pull it out, lubricate the pins, and put them back in. Make sure when you push it back in, the rubber boot pops back up where it's supposed to. Same thing on here. Put it back on like that. Make sure it pushes all the way back in, and then you can see they slide nice and easy. Now, next thing you're going to do is you can either put your brake pad on, the inner brake pad, you can put it on out here, or you could put it in the car and put it on in the car itself. Alright, I'm going to put one on like this, I'll show you the other one on the outside. Alright, then we're going to screw the bolts back in the back that hold the mounting bracket to the car itself. Screw them down by hand as far as you can. Same thing here. Get your top one, screw it in as far as you can by hand. Once you've got it in as far as you can by hand, then you can tighten it up with the ratchet. You tighten them up tight. Alright, next thing we're going to do, we have our inner brake pad is in already. So now we're going to take our outer brake pad and we're going to install our outer brake pad. And you could do this while it's on the bench if you wanted to, or you can do it here. It doesn't really make a difference. Put the brake pad in and then you just push it in. Okay. And once you've got the brake pads mounted in there correctly, you'll take your caliper and you slide it over the top. Most of the time you won't have to push the piston back in because we already did that. But actually you will have to go just a little bit more. So let me just show you how you can push the piston back in just a little bit more than it needs to be done. Lots of different tools they have out there on the market. You can just put this one here I like because I've been using this forever. You just put it in here like this, and you slowly turn it in, and it pushes the piston all the way back into the bore, so that way it'll accommodate it right over the top of the new brake pads and the new rotor. Alright, then you can see it's pushed in all the way. Now, make sure your brake line is not twisted in a circle. Make sure it's nice and free. And you put it on, push your slide pins in. Same thing on the bottom slide pin. And then you catch your two bolts that you previously took out. Screw them in by hand as far as you can. Same thing on the bottom here. Same thing on the top one. Alright, nice and tight. Alright, let me just point out one thing I want to show you. You want to always make sure that when you put your slide pins in, that these pieces here fit in just the way they're supposed to up against this here and not sit on top here. Otherwise you'll have a problem getting it in. If you try to put the bolt in here, okay, just make sure that they fit in here the way they're supposed to. If by chance you're trying to get this bolt in and you can't catch it by hand, then just move this slide pin a little bit and it should slide right in. All right, so now to recap, we have our rotor on here. We cleaned up the face underneath here. We have the new the mounting bracket mounted back on. Our new hardware is back in here. Lubricated everything where it touches. We mounted up the bolts in the back that hold the mounting bracket on. They're tight. And now we tighten these up. That's it. We're all set. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the other side and we're going to get the other side wrapped up. And that's it. All right. Thanks for watching. Anything I can do for you, drop me a line. Be more than happy to talk to you about anything. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.